Fine by me.
Yep, that's fine.
It's a learning. Now, what we're going to do today is the agenda is going to be quite simple. We're going to have some introductions. Then I will be asking our panelists for a do and a don't when it comes to early stage building. And then after that, we will answer some of your questions. Now, in terms of questions, again, it's anything to do with your early stage product and tech. So you may want to ask things about your product roadmap, or perhaps your testing, or maybe your MVP, or anything in between and beyond for that matter. For those of you that are on the live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we're unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you do want to ask us anything, you'll have to do it here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can tune in from anywhere via any platform or device. You can either click on the links that we've shared on those live streams, or you simply go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. So again, it's startuptoscaleup.club. You scroll down a little bit, you'll see today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 171. Click join. It's a quick registration on Luma, and then you will find the link to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Again, being audio only means you can join from anywhere via any platform or device. And once you do that, then simply drop your question in the chat. We'll give you the mic. You'll introduce yourself and fire away with your question. Now, if your questions today are not on product and tech, then please save them for the other conversations we run. So on Mondays, it's talent. On Tuesdays, it's product and tech. On Wednesdays, it's growth. And on Thursdays, it's fundraising. On the second Friday of each month is UK Startup Law, and on the third Friday of each month is UK Startup Finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. You can register to any of them via our website, startuptoscaleup.club. And actually, when you're there, you may also want to join our WhatsApp community. We've got some groups of founders, investors, operators, and of course, our amazing panelists and mentors that join us here. Now, in the 4.5+ years that we've been here, we've had over 290,000 people join us, and none of that would have happened without people like Simon and Chris. So please, if you gentlemen would like to share your LinkedIn URLs in the chat, and maybe a brief sentence about what you're about, feel free to do that. Otherwise, I think it's time to get some quick introductions done. So my name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London working with startups normally right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work with a few other startups, as well as some accelerators, and help some angels and family offices with their due diligence and assessments. I guess we can start with Simon, who joined first, then Chris, and last but not least, Eugenio, who just joined us, I believe, with the developer account. So take it away, fellas.
Good afternoon, or it depends where you are in the world, I guess. Simon Hudson. I am a fractional CTO, CIO by trade, currently looking after a fintech business a sports and marketing business and a software development house in variously bringing their product to market, changing their product strategy from B2C to B2B, and getting their software delivered in a professional and reliable manner.
Thanks, Simon. My name's Chris Bracegirdle. I am a technologist, machine learning PhD, and startup founder. My first business was a data analytics business in the property sector, which we sold to Rightmove a few years ago. Since then, I'm involved in a number of different startups. My main project being a voice AI company called Foretell. But I'm always interested in meeting interesting people who are building exciting startups. So I'm delighted to be here.
Hi, I'm Eugenio Goliotto, a fractional CTO, senior product engineer, and serial founder. I've been in startups for the last 10 years and have been building different kinds of products, full stack, web, mobile, and generative AI in the last 3 years. Most of them currently successfully in production, and I'm happy to be here.
It's amazing. Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Now, before we start going into some questions, and by the way, for those of you that have just joined us on the live streams, please be aware that we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you want any help from our amazing panelists on how to build your early stage product or technology, you'll need to join us here in Microsoft Teams. And quickest way to do that is to go onto our website, startup2scaleup.club, scroll down a little bit, find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 171. You'll then be able to click join, a quick registration on Luma, and then you'll find the Microsoft Teams link there. It's audio only, which means you can join us from anywhere via any platform or device that you like. And then once you're here, simply drop your question in the chat. We'll give you the mic. You can introduce yourself and then fire away with your question. Perhaps we can start with a do and a don't from each of the gentlemen. So maybe we can start from last person joining all the way back to the first. So Eugenio, Chris, and then Simon, please. What is one thing that is important to you and you think founders should do, and one thing that they shouldn't? And please don't use the same logic for both fellas.
Yeah, so the first thing is that productivity now has changed a lot in terms of course, the vibe coding, assisted engineering, and so on. And so I think that being able to deliver very fast, but by focusing on technical effectiveness and correctness of what's building. So what you're building is very important. Of course, this means having internal sessions with the technical team and understand what's the best way to introduce new technologies in the safe way. So this is on the do. On the don't is to not use these to overbuild, because even if you can now build 10 features at the speed of one, in the end, it's about business and it's about solving one problem. And so don't just put stuff just because you can. Just focus on the concept of less is more.
Thank you. Yeah, so having built lots of different products over the years, some of which have worked really well and some of which haven't, here's my general do's and don'ts, or my first do and my first don't, I should say. So the first do is speak to your customer. Speak to your customer even before you've got any customers. Speak to the people who might be your customers. Understand what their needs are. Don't build when you can buy something off the shelf. All too often, I've seen people build technologies that can be very easily bought and integrated very, very simply. So focus on what your key IP is, like what is your key offer, and deliver that really, really well.
Okay, I would start with a don't. Just to riff on what Chris said, don't underestimate the value of not building something, but taking your idea to prospective customers or users and testing it. And on the do side, I would say absolutely get yourself some sort of technical and strategic input once you've got started, someone to guide you with some of the technical decision making. Make your life a lot easier in the long run.
Ah, that is amazing advice. Thank you very much to all three of you gentlemen. Really appreciate it. I think it's time for us to now go on to some questions that were sent in. So I'm going to share one. Seems interesting, from Manchester. So bear with me. What I'll do is I will share it in the chat, but then I will read it out loud. For those of you that are on the live streams, to bear with me, but obviously the panelists can read that in the chat. Is it? Okay, just 1 second. Okay, go for it. So, first question is, I'm the slightly techier out of 3 co-founders of a logistics tech startup in Manchester, and we're dealing with frequent configuration drift across our servers. I've been advised to look into IAC. Oh God, what is IAC again? Something to do with, hang on, I can't remember. I just lost it. What is IAC?
Infrastructure as code.
There you go. Jeez, sorry. You can tell I'm quite ignorant when it comes to this. So, why can't they write the full bleeding? I've been advised to look into infrastructure as code for consistency, but we're unsure to navigate this properly and especially avoid unintended changes. What are best practices for structuring IAC, infrastructure as code, so it's both reliable and easy to audit, especially in environments prone to frequent updates? Wow, maybe I should have started with an easier question. Let's see, what are your thoughts on this, Chris, and then Simon, and then Eugenio, please?
Thank you. Yeah, an interesting question. I think I would definitely start by asking the question, are you using cloud services, or is this, are you running your own infrastructure? I think in any event, you should definitely investigate infrastructure as code platforms. They're extremely powerful. If you're going down the cloud route, I think you need to ask yourself whether you're going to focus on just one cloud provider, for example, AWS or Azure. And if you are, they all provide their own proprietary CDKs or deployment stacks. There are, however, a bunch of cross-cloud technologies, including Terraform. Terraform is extremely powerful, can handle multiple clouds and so on, but it's quite hard to use and it's very verbose. So I think the exact solution that you go for will depend on, as I say, first of all, whether you're using the cloud, and if you are, whether you need to be able to migrate across clouds. But there's a whole range of options out there, and I would highly recommend that you implement infrastructure as code. And I also think it will enable you to build really good and really useful CI/CD pipelines if you haven't already. So to be able to automatically deploy your cloud infrastructure as soon as you commit to your repository, which means it's incredibly quick to deploy your services.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Chris.
I'll go for a somewhat simpler answer and say that because this is an area I have little experience, I would defer to an expert. So I'd find yourself an expert, although I would look at it, and my departure point would be that last piece of the sentence, which is an environment prone to frequent updates. I'd be asking the question, why? and start there from a problem-solving perspective.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that. I think we've got Eugenia next. Eugenia, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. So basically, the first point would be, even for myself, why. So in general, I would start trying to solve the problem at the very beginning, and then of course, infrastructure as a code is a very clean way to configure code. There's a Terraform, which is very nice. There's also Pulumi, which is a way to use Python or JavaScript to configure the server configuration. So there are, of course, it's worth spending time there, but it's worth reducing the complexity first, wherever it is.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Right here, I think it's time for some more questions. Probably I should just reset the conversation. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've just joined this room, we are here for Startup Product and Tech Q&A. We'll be doing this until 1 p.m. UK time, so only, 42 minutes left? And the idea is quite simple. We're here to help you with any questions you may have as you build your early stage product or technology. There are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy because it's a learning curve for us all. In terms of what questions you can ask on product and tech, they can literally be on anything from your product roadmap to your design to your prototype to your testing to back office to your full stack, tech debt, automation, you name it, all the way to MVP and beyond for that matter. If you are on the live streams, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please remember that unfortunately we are not able to monitor your questions there live. So if you'd like to ask our amazing panelists anything and get some help as you build that early stage of yours, then you'll need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can tune in from anywhere via any platform or device. Quickest way to join us here is to go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. You find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 171. You click join. It's a quick registration on Luma. Then you'll be able to find the link there. Once you make it here onto our call, then all you have to do is drop your question in the chat first. We'll then give you the mic, you introduce yourself and fire away with whatever questions you have on product and tech. If, however, your questions today are not on product and tech, please save them for the other conversations we run. Mondays it's talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of each month is UK startup law, and third Friday of each month is UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. They're all available online on our site, startuptoscaleup.club, or perhaps on our Luma page and calendar if you'd like to follow us there. And when you make it onto our site, we also have a WhatsApp community that you can join via there. It's various groups of founders, investors, operators, obviously our panelists and mentors as well. There's a WhatsApp icon at the top and bottom of our site. If you click there, you'll be able to join us. And soon, or towards the end, I'll be sharing a WhatsApp group we have specifically for our product and tech Q&A. Now, we'll read the second question, and the chaps in the room, so the panelists can read it in the chat too, but I'll read it out loud for the live stream. So, our health platform in Manchester allows users to access health records and book appointments. Even short outages lead to lost bookings and complaints. Could you advise on building a high availability architecture with automated failover? And should we be looking at multi-region deployments at this early stage, or are there simpler, cost-effective options? Looks like the Mancunians today are getting quite deep into the tech side of things. Glad I don't have to answer this, but hopefully, Eugenio, then Chris, then Simon might have something to add. Fellas? I think you need to unmute, Eugenio. You haven't unmuted your mic. But if that's not working for whatever reason, let's see.
I can
Oh,
go
yeah.
next.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, essentially, so it's about to understand why there are the outages, because in the end, if the traffic is not huge, there should be, well, the load should not be that much to cause frequent outages. So I will first try to understand what's the problem there. And the second is about having at least a load balancer and having two machines in parallel, potentially. It could be two different clouds or two different regions. In general, there are many ways to introduce like this layer of fault tolerance. So yeah, so just the best practices, common best practices here with regular DevOps.
Thank you. So I'll just add to that. Yeah, I think as ever with these questions, I'd love to have more information. I think the question is what outage is it that's causing the problem? Is it an outage of your hosting provider serving up web pages? Is it an outage of a database connection? Because the exact cause of the problem will lead to a different solution as usual. I mean, I think in general, in terms of hosting, I'd highly recommend multi-region hosting providers. I'm a huge fan of Vercel. That would make your life a lot easier if that's your problem. I think if the problem is data storage or making bookings, I would recommend implementing a task queue with automated retries, which can very easily be done in the cloud. So yeah, I think I would, as usual, love more information, but I definitely think that there will be a architectural decision you can make that would lessen the impact of this, and in particular, keep retrying things if there's ever any outage. That can be more challenging if it's an interactive service that the end user is using and experiencing that outage with. But nevertheless, that there's always ways of ensuring that it keeps trying.
Thank you very much to both of you. Unfortunately, Simon's having some issues, but maybe we can go on to another question. This one is in London, and she says, my fintech startup in London is at seed stage, and we're trying to track how users interact with different budgeting features. I need advice on structure in our analytics to find meaningful patterns without bloating our reporting. How should we go about this? I understand some of you are either unable to join at this exact time and you want to listen to the recording. You may also, I understand some of you feel a bit awkward to kind of put yourself out there. But especially when questions are a little bit technical, like the previous two, the least you can do is, if you don't want to put yourself out there, as you're listening, send us some more questions or, things to clarify this. Because one thing is guaranteed, that the more, if you're here, we'll have a better conversation, and two, you'll get better answers. But nevertheless, I think we can start with Chris on this one and then back to Eugenio. What would you do here, gentlemen?
Yeah, thank you. And this is a great question. Something that I've spent a lot of time over the years thinking about, or similar flavors to this question anyway. As ever, I'd like more information. Are we talking here about a web page? Are we talking about an app? What is your UI? I think you need to choose.
From what I've seen, sorry to interrupt, Chris. From what I've seen on, because this came actually via Instagram. So from what I've seen on her Instagram, it looks like it's an app that they're preparing. But
Okay.
again, I'm speculating just based on some posts I've seen on her Instagram.
Got it. So yeah, I think you need to choose an analytics platform. I mean, obviously there's Google Analytics, which is, I guess, classic now, although some would see it as a bit long in the tooth. But there are some really nice new platforms available. I'm a huge fan of Microsoft Clarity. Hotjar's very good. These are tools for essentially starting with session recording, so knowing what people are actually looking at in your app. But also they do the sort of analytics as well, so across sessions, where are people spending their time and so on. So I would definitely investigate so it's a couple of those platforms. There's a bunch of others too. Full Story is another one. I think these will all support apps as well as websites. So I definitely choose an appropriate tool and spend a significant period of time looking on its features from an analytical point of view, as in extracting information from the session recordings before you integrate one properly. But I would definitely try to choose the right tool and then implement it across your platform. And then, yeah, you need to gather a significant amount of data before you can draw any conclusions. And that's always the problem with this kind of analytics, is you need more data than you realize. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Eugenio, any thoughts? And Simon, I don't know if you managed to read the last question, but after Eugenio, I can read it again out loud.
Yeah. So essentially, of course, more information would be useful in this case. The key point is that you can either go for qualitative questions to users, for example, to see like to have qualitative insights and then drive the quantitative ones, or you could try to track everything and then try to do quick experiments to see which data is the most meaningful, for example. And there are different ways to track analytics in the sense that you will do it on the front end, or you will do it with actions on the back end. So I think there's experiments here and there you should do, and then isolate the most impactful ones, which is an iterative process essentially.
Thank you very much, Eugenio. Simon, are you able to read the last question? Question 3, that is FinTech in London. You'll need to unmute. I have made you a presenter, Simon, so now you'll need to
There
unmute.
I am.
Yep.
Sorry.
Here we go. No
Technical
worries.
issues. I hate computers.
Happens to the best of us.
I read the question, heard Chris's response. I would echo what Chris has said. Choose an analytics platform. Can be very, very useful. I do quite a lot of work with one called Matomo for one of my customers, and extending it and using the features they have. I would add that a good way to test if you're not going to engage directly with your customers, as per Eugenio's advice, is to do A/B testing, and a good platform will have that built in, so you can then roll out functionality that differs across portions of your user base and test engagement against that. Again, it comes down. I would think at the same time you just need to keep what you're asking of your customers as simple as possible to see if they're prepared to engage with it.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. We've got 29 minutes to go, so I guess time for 2, 3 maybe questions. Right, quick reminder, if you are on the live streams, because I can see my other devices pinging. Unfortunately, there's no point in you sending me a question there because we are unable to monitor your questions live. So if you do want to ask us anything, you'll need to tune into our call here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can join from anywhere via any platform or device. Either look at the links on the live streams that we've posted, or if you can't find them, simply go onto our website. I think it's Simon, if you wouldn't mind muting, it's because it's creating a bit of an echo for some reason. When there's more than one mic open, that is. Thank you. So the idea is that we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So you'll have to join us here. Go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. Scroll down a little bit. You'll find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 171. Click join. You'll need to quickly register on Luma, where you'll find today's link here on Microsoft Teams. And again, audio only, meaning you can join from anywhere via any platform or device. Once you're here, simply drop your question in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and you can introduce yourself and fire away with your question. There are no wrong questions and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. The questions obviously today are on product and tech. So you can ask things like how to get your product roadmap done, or perhaps how to sort out your testing or your design or your prototype or launching your MVP or anything in between or beyond for that matter. But if your questions are not on product and tech, then please save them for the other conversations we host. Monday's talent, Tuesdays, as you can see today, it's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month is UK startup law, and third Friday of each month is UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site. And when you're on our site, startup2scaleup.club, you can also join our WhatsApp community. We've got some nice groups of founders that you can connect with, as well as operators, investors, and of course our amazing panelists. So please feel free to do that on our site, top and bottom of the site. There's on the right-hand corner, if I'm not mistaken, there's a WhatsApp icon that you can click on. I guess we'll now move on to the next question. Okay, we're planning to raise Series A for our retail tech startup in Cambridge and want to add AR features for enhanced customer experience beforehand. However, we also need back-end improvements for stability. How can we measure and weigh impact against feasibility when both technical depth and user appeal are equally important? This is an interesting one. Maybe we can start with Simon on this, and then Eugenio, and last but not least, Chris, please.
Sure. I'm wondering if that technical depth is technical debt. I look at this as a strategic question. You kind of got to, in knowing what you want, you've got to understand what you've got to give up. If you're looking for Series A funding, perhaps you've got to get the technical, the cool looking thing out the door at the expense of stability. However, if you have client commitments, you probably want to have a chat to your customer and see what's more important to them. I would suggest that if there's money on the line in terms of income from customers, you probably want to focus on the technical debt first.
I think here the point is to consider the impact of positive and negative on each feature and on the users. So imagine that adding AR means a 1.5x improvement over the current experience, which is something I'm a bit doubtful about because AR has not had any big adoption even nowadays. So I think the improvements are minor. Of course, it depends on the case, but overall, what really makes people annoyed is when something doesn't work, even the basic things. So my feeling at the moment is that you would have 1.4, 1.5x improvement over the customer experience in the positive, and 10x impact negative on the fact that something is not stable or doesn't work. So focus on doing a few things, but that work very well, rather than many things that just try to work very well.
Yeah, I mean, that is great advice. It is hard to know what to add to that. Yeah, I think given your stage at Series A or getting to Series A, you ought to be at the point of product is working. You've got some pretty good traction, and this is about growth. And I think that advice you just received is spot on. Focus on having your platform work reliably and well before adding extra features. And I also echo the point about AR. I've never seen that, you know, demonstrably improve a product, 10x, 5x. So yeah, think very carefully about that. Finally, you could think about a structured cost benefit analysis for the work that you do, and in any tech company, managing priorities and figuring out which features to build next is the biggest challenge. But in general, I think that the advice you just received is excellent. Focus on making your platform work really reliably, particularly if you're looking to scale.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Right, we now have 21 minutes to go. We've got time for a few more questions. I've put a question in the chat. I can read it out loud. And then if we have more time, I'll leave it up to you, gentlemen, if you'd like to go through a few more questions that were sent in, or if you have any topics that you yourself would like to put forward, more than happy to throw that to the fore. Now, this question is a NedTech in Belfast, and she's actually sent questions a few times in the last few weeks, but for some reason we never managed to get to them. So hopefully this time we can. Our EdTech platform in Belfast supports high school teachers with lesson planning tools, but many users find the onboarding overly complex. A, how can we make onboarding simpler without sacrificing clarity on core features? And B, what product validation steps like A/B testing would help us refine the process and confirm that the onboarding leads to productive engagement with the platform? Perhaps we can start with Eugenio, Chris, and last but not least, Simon. What would you do here? And by the way, just before you start, gentlemen, I would like to congratulate you who sent the question, because I've just seen 7 or 8 questions and they started from design to all sorts. So it looks like, although we haven't been able to answer any of your questions yet, at least you've progressed, well, or it seems you might have progressed quite well and quite substantially in the last few weeks. So well done anyway. Sorry, Eugenio, take it away.
Yeah, so this is something that I would not do A/B test on. I will just focus on a really great first principle based experience. So something that's rethinked from scratch from possibly a brilliant UX UI designer, and that's straightforward. Well, if you don't have any like exceptional UX UI designer, I think you can start with the onboarding in many of the most famous apps, possibly the most complex ones that need, for example, to explain new complex concepts. It can be, for example, some trading platforms or whatever, and then you can take inspiration from them. But if you try to do A/B tests, I think so. I think this is not the best place to try A/B tests, because this is something happening only once. So you want to be focused on quality without waiting for data to confirm something or not. It just needs to be perfect from day one.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think again, these are really great questions. Onboarding is hard, particularly with individual users as end clients as opposed to businesses. I think what I would say is, how can you make your onboarding multi-stage so that the first stage is minimal and enables your users to get to value from your platform as quickly as possible. You can then encourage them to continue their onboarding later via providing in-app prompts or pop-ups or whatever it might be to store more data as time goes by. But I definitely think the question to ask yourself is, how can I enable, what's the minimum amount of things I need from my customers or clients to get them to value as quickly as possible, and require them to answer only those things. And I think A/B testing, that's a really good question. I think the challenge with A/B testing, and it's a mistake that people make all the time, is that for you to be able to make any decisions, statistically significant decisions on the back of an A/B test, you need far more data than you realize. And therefore, as much as we like the idea of A/B testing, actually using that in the real world is pretty hard. You need a lot of users to be able to draw conclusions from A/B tests. So yeah, I wouldn't rush to do that in your instance, unless you're already at massive scale, in which case definitely do, but get a lot of data.
Thank you very much for that. Simon, what would you do here?
Chris stole all my thunder. The two things I was going to say, pretty much on the money. Keep it simple to start with. Engage over time and get people to share the data that gets them deeper into the processes it's needed. And also, you need lots of users, like tens of thousands probably, to have any decent feedback from A/B testing. The other thing I would add to that is actually have a conversation with some of your users. If they're saying that it's difficult to engage with, then rather than just accepting that at face value, ask them why. It might be process driven or it might be user interface driven. Unless you have the data, or you know why, you're not going to be able to make the changes that are going to make it appealing.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that, gentlemen. We've got 16 minutes to go. I've got a few more questions, but two that I think would be useful, or we can talk about any other topic that you gentlemen want. What would you like to do?
I'm good with questions.
Good with questions, Chris?
Yeah, love a good question.
Right here. Eugenio, whatever your answer is, I think you got outvoted. So, all right, let's go on to another one. This is an interesting one, I think, because we don't get enough questions on prototypes. I remember when we used to do this on, where was it? Clubhouse. We used to get questions about prototypes way more often than many other stuff. But for some reason, ever since we've kind of gone sort of UK centric, we don't really get many questions about prototypes. So I don't know what it is, but I just found it bizarre. Anyway, so the question is in the chat, but I'll read it out loud for those on the live streams. As a non-techie founder of a sustainable food app in Cardiff, I need to prototype several features related to recipe discovery and ingredient sourcing. However, our team's current approach to prototyping seems inconsistent and unstructured. Could you suggest a framework to streamline rapid prototyping, ensuring consistency and clear metrics for when a prototype should move forwards? Now, as a non-techie person, my association with prototyping has always been with hard tech rather than software. But nevertheless, would love to hear your thoughts on this thing. So maybe we can start with Simon, Chris, and last but not least, Eugenio. What would you do here?
Well, the thing is, if you go back to the principles, you get what you measure. You should be setting out what it is you want to test in the prototype or in addition of a feature to a prototype before you let the techies loose on it. You need to know what's there, what the outcome might be, what it is you're looking for looking to understand as an outcome, and then have them go and rapidly prototype it, if you will. If you don't know what you want to measure before you start measuring, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're also giving the team the excuse to take their own approach.
See, thank you, Simon. I think we said Chris, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah. Well, Simon stole on my thunder. I think it's hard to recommend a written framework, but I think in terms of how to think about this, define your hypothesis up front. So if we want to build this thing, why are we building it? What's the hypothesis? What's the thing we think we might get out of this? And then again, before you've written a single line of code or developed anything, you need to define what is success quantitatively. So what is a success metric for this prototype? And when that is clear to everybody and agreed, only then should you start prototyping. And I think if you can enforce that, everyone will know why you're developing a thing or prototyping a thing, and hopefully you'll be crystal clear on whether the outcome meets your objectives. But yeah, I think Simon's on the money there.
So there's a couple of points here. I think we can start describing the approach that Google and Apple have in this case. Because at Apple we have many experiments internally, but only very few go outside because they filter out much of the whatever they have done if it's not perfect and impactful. So this could be one way. The other way is Google, where there's many prototypes, many attempts, many stuff they do internally. A couple of them survive enough to be published, and then maybe they die. It often happens actually, and that of course requires a lot of energy, and in general, like requires a good attitude at having users, happy to try different things at the same time, which is not which is not easy in some cases. And so given these two things, the first point is that when you prototype, you are you're spending energy, not wasting, you're spending energy. This means that even before, probably there should be a disciplined ideation effort where possibly everyone has ideas, and if you can compare your ideas with the others, you may start prioritizing what needs to be prototyped, for example, instead of just prototyping freely. That said, once you have something, you may try to do some experiments with a small percentage of users, like let's say 10% of users, and you may take them randomly for each feature. So if the feature works, then you can keep it and like distribute it to everybody. So this depends also on how much effort and energy you can put on it. But in the end, change too much or too many features or too much in general, I think it's not productive in the end. So try to filter out and be more like Apple with the disciplined ideation approach.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. We've got 9 minutes to go. So what we're going to do then, we're going to go through one last question. And after that, I'll be asking you, gentlemen, for some parting words before I let you go. So question is, right, so last question for today is from a co-founder in Sheffield. They're working on an AI-driven music discovery app. He says, we've received positive feedback in alpha testing, but I want to avoid building features based on temporary trends. What methods should I use to continuously validate our product's relevance to long-term user interest? Oh boy, this is literally a $1 billion question, but a very good one, and I'd love to hear from the three of you, and feel free to spend as much time as you want on this question, because I think it's really important. Maybe we can start on this with Chris, Eugenio, and last but not least, Simon, please. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. This is an important question, and a hard question. Ultimately, I feel strongly that the only fundamental answer is data. And having said what I said earlier about A/B testing and needing a lot of users to draw any meaningful conclusions, I think that is the only real way. And so, whilst you can do focus groups and you can do research sessions and so on, ultimately, you need a lot of users telling you through their actions and their behavior what works for them and what doesn't, and the same over time. So how do you do that? And yeah, I think it's important that you have as many users as you can, that you store as much data as you can about what they do. And I think something sort of slightly hidden in this question as well is like, what are the alternatives out there, right? What are the competing products that people might choose to use instead, or the competing features that people might choose to use instead? And that sort of competitive intelligence is also a big challenge. So that obviously requires a different approach. And time was, you'd have platforms like SimilarWeb, ComScore, that aim to tell you how you compare with your competitors. How exactly those stack up in the current world of apps is an open question. But I think, yeah, for me, it's all about having data and data about your own app, but also the competing products too.
Data is king and queen. Eugenio.
Yeah, so I think that following trends is not that bad. Of course, you may think of long-term features as the most successful ones, which is of course a good assumption, but provided that you know which features these are. So you know exactly that you can decide whether go for a temporary spike feature, or you want to go for a long-term feature. But I'm starting with the assumption that you don't have this long-term feature in mind. And so going for trends allow to increase your user base, the amount of interactions users have with you. If you have done the wrong assumptions on who your users are, having more users makes this clear. So maybe you discover something that wasn't clear before. And trends in general like help in the context of distribution, of course, with increase of amount of users in general, but distribution is one of the top challenges in everything essentially. So I think this is an important role too. And in the end, it's about even there to go for first principles, and everything changes. So even being adaptable to trends can be an asset.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, Simon.
I would only add, go back to Chris's point, you need data. You need to know what your competitors are doing. I'd ask your customers. So it comes back to the A/B testing argument. And the previous question about prototyping, put the features out there, let people bash at them. If they don't like them, they won't use them. You just got to, and listen to the market, what they think about your product. Use the socials and engage with your customer base.
Well, that was quite a session, probably one of the most interesting ones we've had, because we never get to go through more than 3 or 4 questions, and I think today we've done 7. Again, they were some really techie questions, again, compared to most of our questions. But it would have been so much nicer if you'd actually made it here interactively. Because despite the fact that you got some absolute gems from our panels, you would have probably gotten a bit more tailored. But nevertheless, hopefully you'll join us next time. Before I let these three amazing gentlemen go, some quick parting words, if I may. Maybe we can start in the same order that we joined. So I think it was Simon, Chris, and then Eugenio.
Cool. I will say the same thing I say every time. If you invested enough to build something, spend the time, spend the money to do it, get yourself some technical guidance. Doesn't have to be full time. Doesn't even have to be more than a couple hours a week, but just get someone who's been there and done it before, who can point you in the right direction, who can mentor you and help you overcome any problems you might run into, or introduce you to the people who might take your business further.
As usual, some excellent advice there. Thank you, Simon. So yeah, I think at this point, I'm going to say what I always say, which is, well done, right? Building a business and trying to build a new product is a hard thing to do, and I respect greatly the people who decide to take on that challenge. So yeah, I would say give yourselves a bit of a pat on the back, and keep going. And yeah, you need to keep going way beyond a rational person would, if you want to succeed. So well done, and keep going.
Thank you very much, Eugenio.
So as a technical person, I would say something a bit different in the sense that you think that being able to build is one of the most important things. Of course, other things are, but I would say that positioning and branding recently have really caught my mind in how to create something that people want. And so my advice is to put an important amount of focus there, just to have an identity that people can recognize in your sector.
Well, thank you very much for that, gentlemen. We've got 1 minute to go, so I guess it's time we wrap this up. I really appreciate your time and the amazing answers you gave us today. Thank you to those of you that sent them in. Next time, please do join us live, interactively, here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can tune in whether you're cooking lunch in Liverpool or walking your dog in Surrey or working from a shared office in the city or Shoreditch, or perhaps changing baby nappies in Cardiff. It doesn't matter where you are, it's easy to join, and you can RSVP to any future session either via Luma or via our website, startuptoscaleup.club. Again, startuptoscaleup.club. You'll be able to click join and RSVP to any future session. In terms of sessions, we run 6 of those. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month it's UK startup law, and third Friday of each month it's UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and again they're all available online on our website, startuptoscaleup.club, or you can join our WhatsApp community. We've got some amazing groups that you can connect with other founders, investors, operators, and of course our amazing panelists as well. You can send questions ahead of each Q&A or discuss specific topics we touched on in each Q&A, because we've got separate groups now for each Q&A as well. As far as my parting words, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow for Startup Growth. We've got some amazing panelists who've been there and done it to help with any questions you may have, from user acquisition to growth hacks, go-to-market, or simple and generic sales, marketing, and advertising, and anything within that sphere. But again, thank you, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.